Hello children, in the previous video we discussed the concept of electromagnetic induction. We saw motional EMF due to rotation of a single conductor, right? Now we are going to discuss eddy currents. I am sure by now you are very sure about what exactly is electromagnetic induction. The basic idea is that whenever we change magnetic flux associated with a closed surface, closed loop or a coil, then we can generate what? EMF, which is called what? Induced EMF, and we can therefore also generate what? Current, right? Now in this video we are going to discuss what are eddy currents. Let's imagine a situation in which my two fingertips are acting like poles of a magnet, right? And then this chalk is like an iron bar or any bar made up of ferromatic substance, and it is moving between the poles, swinging in and out. See, it is swinging in, swinging out, in, out, in, out. What we understand it, as it is going between the two poles, then we can clearly see the flux is what? Increasing, and going out flux is decreasing. Again, going in, flux is increasing, going out the flux is decreasing. And whenever there is a change in flux associated with any surface, then it will have an induced EMF and it will produce a current which has a tendency to oppose change of flux. So children, as a consequence of electromagnetic induction, a current is produced in the block, the metallic block which are moving in the magnetic field between the two poles, and this current in fact is driven to the surface and is perpendicular to the plane containing the magnetic lines of force. Now these currents are called eddies because they don't have a clear path to flow, and therefore they follow what? Random paths, right? That's why we call them eddy currents. Let's pictorially understand it. Imagine a situation where these are poles of a magnet. This is north pole and this is south pole, and between these two poles I have suspended a magnet here, iron bar, not magnet, sorry, iron bar. And this iron bar is swinging between the two poles like a what? Like a pendulum, oscillating you can say. Now, magnetic lines of force will be directed like this. So you can see when it is coming out, then the flux will decrease. Going in, the flux will increase. Again going out on the other side, flux will decrease. Again is coming in, flux will increase. So flux is continuously changing through the bar which is swinging between the two poles. Now when flux will change, like I said, a current will be produced. Now this current will be produced, and this is the plane containing the field lines, right? And let us say it is coming out. Let us say this bar is coming out. When it is coming out, I can use right hand rule for determining the what? Direction of the induced current. Let us say this. This is the velocity which is outside. This is the field, right? This is the velocity. This is the field. So current is upwards. When the current will be following a path like this, this will be clockwise. What will be the path here? Clockwise. Means current will be like this, anti-clockwise. So when it is coming out, the current is what? Anti-clockwise. And when it is going in, the current will be clockwise, right? So let's say it is coming out. So when it is coming out like this, then the current will be anti-clockwise like this. This is how the current will be driven. So these currents flow on the surface of the metallic block, and these are irregular currents. We call them what? Eddy currents. Now these eddy currents have got a very special property. You see, you already know by Lentz's law, the nature of the induced EMF is to oppose any change in flux. So when this bar is coming out, the flux is decreasing. So this current will try to pull it where? Inside. Okay. Therefore, the nature of the current which is being produced here on the surface, this irregular current, is to oppose change in flux. So when this block will try to come out, or this bar will try to come out, we'll pull it where? Inside. And when it is going inside, we'll push it outside. Right? That means the nature of the induced current is such that it wants to eliminate the very region which is responsible for producing the current. Means it does not want any change in flux. Hence, it will oppose, the induced current will oppose the motion of this bar outside as well as inside. So what is the obvious choice? The obvious choice will be the bar has to stop what? Oscillating. It is clear. So one very important effect of this current is preventing this bar from oscillating, and these are called damped oscillations. Clear? So we'll define what are eddy currents now, children. Eddy currents. Eddy currents. So children, here we have defined when flux through a metallic bar changes, an irregular current is produced on the surface of the bar. This irregular current is called eddy currents. We have done eddies in hydrodynamics in class 11, irregular currents. But remember, these currents will change the direction depending upon, like in this case, velocity is outside, it's coming out. So current is what? Anticlockwise. Now imagine a situation in which here you have the bar, here is the bar, and these are poles of the magnet, north pole and south pole, and the bar is going inside now. This is the velocity. Now what will be direction of the induced current? We use the what? Right hand rule, right? Now see, it is going inside, the bar is going inside. This is the direction of magnetic field. So current is here like this. This current is what? Clockwise. So you have to understand this, that in this case current is clockwise and is always perpendicular to the plane of the magnetic field lines. This is the plane containing the magnetic field lines, right? This plane. So current is always perpendicular to the magnetic field lines, and you know also by right hand rule that all the three parameters will have to be perpendicular to each other, then only current will be induced, right? So define these eddy currents. Remember, these are surface currents and they don't have a clear path to follow. They will be flowing at what? Random, but the only basic property which you have to keep in mind is they will be perpendicular to the plane containing the magnetic field lines. Now what are the effects of eddy currents? Effects of eddy currents. Children, we are going to discuss what are effects of eddy currents. The first effect is they produce damped oscillation. They produce damped oscillations. Damped oscillation. Now what are damped oscillations? You know that oscillations are constantly reducing amplitude are called damped oscillations. Now here what exactly this damped oscillation means? In fact, you have done in class 11 physics. These ideal oscillations, amplitude remains same, and these are damped oscillations where you can see that amplitude goes on decreasing, right? So eddy current do something like this. They will not allow this iron bar to move freely between the poles through the magnetic field lines. Remember. So once it swings up to here, next time it will swing only up to here, next time it will swing only up to here, and then it will stop. Means they will not allow this iron bar to move freely in the magnetic field, right? So they produce damping oscillations, and this is very instrumental. This finds many applications, like we have deadbeat galvanometer, deadbeat galvanometer. Then we have speedometers. This phenomenon is used damping what? Oscillations. Also in electric brakes. in electric bricks. So they have applications also of this property. They produce damped oscillations. We have deadbeat galvanometers are using it, then speedometer is using it, and electric bricks also using it. Clear? Then we have, they produce wear and tear. They produce wear and tear. Meaning eddy currents cause damage to the material of which the bar is made up of. Okay, so we call it what? Wear and tear. Now third application, third effect is heating effect. Now this heating effect is again an important effect. Remember, as these currents are being set up on the surface, electrons are set into what? This irregular motion on the surface, and as electrons do not have a clear circuit or path to follow, they keep colliding with what? Each other. In the process, they dissipate huge amount of energy, and this is a big problem in many electrical circuits. Okay. Now we have this applications also, like eddy currents are being used in deep heat therapy. Deep heat therapy. Then you have induction furnace. Induction furnace. So there are all kind of applications also of this property. Deep heat therapy we have, induction furnace we have. So these are major effects. They produce wear and tear, they produce damped oscillations, and they produce what? Heating effect. Again in transformer cores, when we will be doing transformer, you will be seeing that eddy currents are a big problem. We can't use one continuous metallic core. We use a number of plates, laminated plates, so that we can minimize what? Eddy currents. Clear? So these are major effects of eddy currents. So children, eddy currents are nothing but irregular currents which are produced on the surface of a metallic bar when it is allowed to move in a magnetic field. Okay. Now children, so we understood what exactly eddy currents. Now the question is, can we stop eddy currents? Can they be completely eliminated? Actually, completely eliminating is quite what? Difficult. But we can reduce. Because whenever I will move any metallic block in a magnetic field, any metallic bar, it has got to have a change of flux, and whenever there will be change of flux, we are going to have eddy currents, and eddy currents will be having all kind of effects. But eddy currents are not always unwanted. We have some applications also. Once again, we will see their applications in the end, right? So, reduction of eddy currents, how we can reduce them possibly? Reduction of eddy currents. How possibly we can reduce eddy currents? You see, eddy currents are basically what? Surface currents. So if we can increase the resistance of the surface, suppose this is a metallic bar which is moving in a magnetic field and is having what? Eddy currents, and these currents are on the surface. So like I said, we cannot completely eliminate eddy currents, but then we can do something about reducing them, and we can reduce them to a great extent also. So how can it be done? See, since these charges are moving on the surface, if you can think about reducing, if you think about increasing the resistance of the circuit or surface, sorry, if you can increase the resistance of the surface, then we can minimize the movement of charges on the surface, and therefore we can reduce current. Okay. So I am sure you have understood the concept that eddy currents cannot be completely eliminated. Quite difficult, but we can minimize them. And how we can minimize? Listen carefully. We can minimize them by increasing resistance of the surface. Clear? So reduction of eddy currents, they can be done by laminating the surface. By laminating the surface. Now what is laminating the surface? What we will do is that we will take a surface. Suppose this is a surface that I want to use for core of a transformer. So what I will do is, I'll put a coating here, coating of sand and varnish. If you put a coating of sand and varnish, it's called what? Lamination. And that will increase the surface what? Surface resistance significantly, and therefore it will be able to reduce eddy currents by a very large value. And now let me tell you that we will have a real problem if you use a solid core. So what to do is, in the core of a transformer, what do you see? You see that we use a number of plates like this. This is one plate. Now this is another plate. Right? Now we go on putting these plates, one plate on top of the other, and you bind them together by using what? Wires. So you can see, if I put a number of plates like this, one plate is here, one plate is here, one plate is here, then all these plates together, and each plate is what? Laminated. In a transformer, what we do? We don't use a solid block. No, we don't use a block like this. We don't use a block like this. If you use a block like this, you will have a tremendous amount of eddy current. So what I'll do is, I'll take a number of plates like this. I'll laminate all these plates, meaning I put the coating of sand and varnish with some iron fillings, and then I'll put a number of plates together and join them. I'll bind them here. I'll bind them here, and I'll bind them here. So it's as good as having what? A single block. Right? Will become thick, and will have a greater surface resistance. So this will minimize the what? Eddy currents on the surface, right? So first method of reducing eddy currents is by what? Lamination. Now the second one is by cutting slots. By cutting slots. Now this is a metallic surface, and then you cut slots like this. And when you cut slots like this way also we can maximize the resistance of the surface, and we can minimize the eddy current. So children, there are two ways. One is by laminating the surface, which I have seen here, or by cutting slots. In both these cases, we can increase surface resistance, and we can reduce the eddy currents flowing onto the surface of the given metallic bar. Okay. Now actually, once you have understood how we can reduce it, then we will be seeing like what are applications. We have already done, but again I will be writing in a nutshell so that you can know what are the applications of eddy current. Eddy currents are highly unwanted because of their wear and tear property and heating effect. These two are major effects, and then they cause wear and tear, which is tolerable, but the heating effect and damping is not tolerable. But despite this, eddy currents find a number of applications, and I already wrote earlier based on which effect which application is being used. Okay, I will be writing once again applications of eddy currents. Okay, let's see applications of eddy currents. Children, what are applications of eddy currents? And the effects we saw, they are producing damping, then heating effect, and then wear and tear, right? So we use in deadbeat galvanometers. Now deadbeat galvanometers are galvanometers which give you accurate reading and do not deflect full and then come back to the exact rating. No, in fact they directly deflect as per the current increasing or decreasing. Now next one is speedometers. Speedometers are something like deadbeat galvanometers only, in which they have a small coil, hairspring we call it, and then here we have inside the coil we have a small what? Magnet, and the coil is connected to the wheel. So wheel is rotating and along with it the magnet is also rotating, and to the magnet we have connected the pointer. So you can see the deflection in the pointer will depend upon the speed at which the magnet is rotating along with the what? Wheel, because eddy currents will be there. The moment it will turn in one direction, then eddy current will try to rotate in the other direction. When both will be equal and opposite, then deflection in the pointer will stop. Speedometers, deadbeat galvanometer, they work on a similar principle. We have electric brakes. In electric brakes what happens? In electric brake we have big cylinders, and these cylinders are rotating between the poles of a strong electromagnet. So when the driver wants to stop the train, he applies a current across the poles of the electromagnet. When magnetic lines of fuel will pass through the cylinder which is rotating along with the what? Wheels, it is on the same axle as the wheels, then eddy currents will be produced which will prevent the rotation of the cylinder, and they will apply what? A counterbalancing torque, and within no distance the train will come to stop. If you see the older trains which is vacuum brakes, they start braking almost 1 kilometer before entering the platform. But if you are riding a metro, you see within no time the metro will stop, because they use what? Electric brakes. Then you have deep heat therapy. Deep heat therapy is based on the heating effect of eddy currents. Then we have induction furnace. Okay, so these are some of the effects of eddy currents which you can note down and you can learn. Okay. Now children, we are going to discuss what is self-induction. Now you very well understand that for producing current I don't always require a battery. What I need to do, I can change the flux which is associated with the coil and I can produce what? Current, right? Now let us understand what is self-induction. As the name implies, self-induction means a substance is able to induce the current by itself without any external assistance. Let us see a simple situation out here. Suppose I have, for example, a coil. Suppose there is a coil here, right? And here I am connecting a DC source. And here we have a key K. What will I observe when I close the key? See, when I close this key, then current actually, if I plot a graph between current and time, don't think current goes, like this immediately. Current does not become like this uniform. Current actually initially increases like this, or maybe like this, curve and then streak. Now in this part, we are interested in this part, not in the nature of the graph. Look at this part. When I close the key, then current suddenly does not become uniform like this. At time t is equal to 0, the current starts what? Increasing. At time t is equal to 0, current is 0, and then the current starts increasing till it becomes maximum, and then the graph becomes like this, right? Immediately it will not become steady. No, it will increase and after some time it will become uniform. So in this part, let us say this part is OA and this part is AB. OA, AB goes on increasing, the time is increasing, this is current. You see, in this part OA, current is increasing. When current will flow through this coil, what will happen? It will produce a magnetic field, and due to magnetic field what will happen? A flux will be produced like this. Clear? Something like this will be produced. Suppose. So the current will increase, then magnetic field will be increasing, and as magnetic field will be increasing, magnetic flux will also be increasing. So we can say in this part OA, this part or in this part, flux is increasing, and when flux will increase, then what will happen, children? Electromagnetic induction will take place. And when electromagnetic induction will take place, so see, this is how current is, applied current is flowing in the circuit. But the moment flux will change, it will induce another current, and this current will flow in which direction? Opposite direction. Let's say this current is I dash. Suppose I am applying 2 amperes current, there is I, and because of induction in the circuit, we have an induced current I dash is equal to 1 milliampere. This current is very small, but nevertheless this current is there. So when this current is increasing, flux is increasing. So the circuit has a tendency due to electromagnetic induction, which is again explained by Lenz's law, that it will try to cancel the increasing flux, and therefore it set up a current in the which direction? Opposite direction. So this opposite direction will produce another flux which will be in the opposite direction, and we try to prevent the flux from increasing. So this is the scenario when the current is increasing. Now let us see another scenario. I have the same coil here, I have connected the battery, and then I open the circuit. I open this key K. Initially current was going like this. When I will open this key, means I will switch off the circuit, then the current will start what? Decreasing. Current will start what? Decreasing. And as the current will decrease like this. This is I and this is T. When current will start decreasing, again here flux will change, because flux will change whether the current is increasing or whether the current is decreasing. When current is increasing, flux is increasing. Current is decreasing when the flux is decreasing. But in both the cases, electromagnetic induction takes place. Now in this case, the induced current will change its direction. It will try to support the current. This is how I was flowing earlier. Now I is decreasing. So immediately the circuit will try to support this falling current and try to prevent it from decreasing, and therefore will be setting up a current in the same direction as the applied current. Very important for you to know. When the current is increasing, then direction of induced current will be in the what? Opposite direction. When the current is decreasing, I am breaking the circuit, opening the circuit, then the current will try to flow in the same direction. Now since this current I dash, which is induced in the circuit and is trying to oppose the applied current, so we call it also back current, and the EMF produced is called what? Back EMF. Clear? So once you understood this concept, we will try to define what is self-induction. See children, self-induction, the phenomenon due to which a back EMF is induced in a coil due to change of flux associated with the coil, not externally. Change of flux associated due to current flowing through the coil. This is what we call is mutual induction. Clear? So we will be defining what is mutual self-induction. Called self-induction. So children, here we are defining what is self-induction. The phenomenon due to which a back EMF is induced in a coil which opposite change of flux or current associated with the coil is called self-induction. Self-induction means the coil is inducing it by itself. It is not being done externally. Whenever the moment current will change in the coil, it will have an EMF. If the current is increasing, then the induced current will try to cancel it, will be in the opposite direction. And the flux is decreasing, then induced current will try to flow in the same direction. Very easy to understand this. It is called self-induction. This is an inherent or natural property of a circuit. When I will switch on the current, if the current is increasing, induced current will be in the opposite direction. When you turn off the circuit, then induced current will be in the same direction as the applied current. Clear? So now, on what factor is this induced EMF depending? See children, to begin with, it is actually depending upon the current going through the coil, because current going through the coil is producing a magnetic field and therefore is producing a magnetic flux. When current is changing, then the flux is also changing. When the flux is changing, we are going to have electromagnetic induction. So the whole thing is depending upon current. Okay. So let's say like this: if flux through the coil is phi and current is I. Now these are instantaneous values. Don't think this is fixed. No, instantaneous. When I will change, then phi will also change. More current, more flux; less current, less flux. Clear? So we can say, and we know also that phi will be directly proportional to I, or phi is equal to L into I. Now this term L which you are seeing children, L is very important. L is called coefficient of self induction, or simply we call it self inductance. Here this term I will call equation 1. L is called coefficient of self induction. We also call it self inductance. So phi is equal to L into I. Therefore, what is EMF children? Minus d phi dt. E is equal to minus d phi dt. Now if I put this value, then E will become minus L into di dt. So this gives us a more important mathematical relation, or you can also say like this: E equals to minus L into delta I over delta T. Clear? Now you know the significance of minus the negative sign. Negative sign shows, as you have done already many times over, the nature of the induced EMF is such that it opposes any change of flux. If I take only the magnitude, then magnitude of E will be equal to L into delta I by delta T. So you can also use this. Clear? So we understood how we can relate self-induction, coefficient of self-induction with the induced EMF. Okay? Alright? If dIdt is equal to 1, then L is equal to modulus of E. Children, if in this equation or in this equation, if I put this dIdt is equal to 1, then minus L will be equal to E. If I ignore the sign, then L will be equal to E. So here we can define self-inductance of a coil is equal to induced EMF if rate of change of current is unity. Unity means 1. Okay. So if current is changing at the rate of 1, then self-inductance will be equal to the induced EMF. Okay. Hence, rate of change of current is unity. So you can copy this definition from the board. We have said self-inductance of a coil is equal to the induced EMF if rate of change of current is unity. Right? Once understood this children, we will understand unit of self-inductance. Unit of self-inductance. What will be unit of self-inductance? Now children, in a SI system, unit of self-inductance is Henry. We denote it by capital H. So you have to remember, unit of self-inductance is Henry. Now what is 1 Henry? Let's see. We have done E is equal to L into di dt. Where children understand, L is the induced EMF, di dt is rate of change of current, and L is the self-inductance. Now, if di dt is 1 ampere per second. If dIdt is how much? 1 ampere per second, and induced EMF is 1 volt. Then L is equal to 1 Henry. Meaning, if current is changing at the rate of 1 ampere per second and induced EMF is 1 volt, then inductance is how much here? 1 Henry. Clear? So easily understood. If rate of change of current is 1 ampere per second and induced EMF or back EMF in the coil is 1 volt, then the self inductance is equal to 1 Henry. But children, 1 Henry is a large inductance. We may have to deal with what? Smaller units of inductance, like we may use what? Millihenry or microhenry. So millihenry will be how much here? 1. Millihenry will be 10 power minus 3 Henry, and 1 microhenry will be equal to 10 power minus 6 Henry. Generally millihenry will be used, or if it is like you can understand 1 millihenry, if it is given, it's 10 power minus 3 Henry. Clear? Once you understood the self inductance, we will try to derive actually what is self inductance of a solenoid, and we will also see one sample numerical on this, the type which you get in the exam. Okay, let's see here. Self inductance of a solenoid. So children, we already did the basic groundwork on self induction. Now we are going to discuss self inductance of a solenoid. As you know, solenoid is an arrangement consisting of a long cylindrical frame with large number of copper wires wound on it. So this is a solenoid, for example, that we are talking about. Clear? Now children, when you allow current to pass through this solenoid, then you also know that solenoid becomes what? An electromagnet. So this is solenoid. We are connecting a source, we are connecting a key, source of EMF, right? And then as usual, as I'll close the key, then the current will be set up in the circuit as you are saying, right? And then a magnetic field will be produced inside the solenoid. All these things we have already discussed, so I am not going to discuss it again. Something like this will happen, right? Now what we are going to do is, we are going to find out what will be the self inductance of this solenoid. And you very well know that the moment I close the key, like we discussed before about self induction, a current will be set up. When the current will flow through the solenoid, it will produce a magnetic flux, and when there will be flux, it will change because the current will change, and when the flux will change, there will be an EMF, and then we want to calculate what exactly will be its self inductance depending upon the parameters. We will make certain assumptions. Okay, make certain assumptions, children. Let number of turns on unit length is small n, and the length of solenoid is equal to capital is equal to n, area of the cross section is equal to capital A, and we can also say total number of turns on solenoid is equal to capital N. Then you will know that N will be what? N by L. Clear? Now children, when current will flow through the circuit, to the solenoid will produce what? A magnetic field. Let us say the instantaneous current is I. I is instantaneous current. This current will change till it becomes uniform, right? So we have already done this derivation. Field inside the solenoid. Children, what is field inside the solenoid? Field inside the solenoid, B will be equal to mu naught Ni. We have done this, if you remember. So this is field. Now area of cross section is how much here? A. That means each loop will be having what area? A. So flux through each turn. Flux through each turn will be how much, children? Phi is equal to B into A is equal to B. B is how much? Mu naught Ni into A. So this will be flux through each turn. But how many turns are there? Capital N turns. And if we cross multiply, N will be equal to how much? Small n into L. So here, therefore, total flux through solenoid is phi equals to n into, n is total number of turns, n into flux through each turn. Clear? And flux through each turn is how much here? This much. So phi will be equal to n. Capital N is what? N into small l mu naught NIA. So if we simplify, children, we get an important relation here. Phi is equal to mu naught n square A into I. Mu naught n square A into L into I. This is the flux. Clear? Now children, if self-inductance is L, then phi is equal to, we have studied what? L into I. This is L, so don't be confused, it's not E, this is L. Clear? So we already did phi is equal to L into I, we got two values of phi. I said this is equation 2 and this is equation 3. This is equation 1. I got value of phi in terms of number of turns, area of cross section, length and current, and phi is equal to L into I, where L is self inductance. If I equate 2 and 3, equating, I get Li is equal to mu naught n square A L into I. Now if we cancel out I and I, then how much is self inductance, children? L equals to mu naught n square A into I. So children, this is the formula for self inductance of a solenoid. Now many times we would like to express this relation in terms of total number of turns. So we can do that also. How? But n is equal to capital N by L, where L is the what? Length. If I put it here, then L will be equal to, children, mu naught n by L whole square A into L. Therefore L will be mu naught n square A by L. So these are the equations for self inductance of a solenoid, right? And you'll get simple numericals on this. Remember one variation. This is an air core solenoid. Air core solenoid means the medium inside the core is what? Air. But suppose the core is made up of a ferromatic substance, so we can modify this formula. In case of a ferromagnetic substance, core you can write phi will be mu r into mu naught, same equation, n square A by L. So here we have what? And the term mu r. This is relative permeability. This is relative permeability, which I have already done. Permeability of free space. Similarly, relative permeability of substance, which is always more than 1, is always positive. Right? So we discuss what is self inductance of a solenoid. Okay.